Inside the Birds is back. What's going on, everybody? It is Geoff, Mosher, Adam Caplan. We're going to do part 2 of our offensive contract / free agency series for the Eagles. We did quarterbacks and offensive linemen. That came out on Monday. Got a lot of good feedback on it. I know people, Adam, have been waiting for us to do this kind of show. Well, hey, the Eagles went to the Super Bowl. That's why we're doing it right now. So, where we had a really interesting conversation specifically about the offensive line. Cam Jurgens up for an extension, and we're going to have a pretty interesting conversation here and get really inside the contracts for not just the Eagles running backs, but also the pass catchers and see what that means for the look of this team going forward.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, they've got some interesting decisions. Goddard, we're going to have to get into his situation. The Eagles are going to have to deal with this. We'll talk about him. Some cap numbers that jump. Boy, A.J. Brown's cap number goes way up this coming season. He's going to make a lot more cash, which look, the guy deserves. He's a great football player. But his cap number goes up. What it is cash goes way up. And then the cap number jumps again in 26. It's the cap numbers go up. It's due to these option bonuses. So, and he's got a series of them. So to keep the cap numbers at a certain number, and then they're eventually going to have to jump, as Howie Roseman he didn't explain. I guess he talked to the media. I don't know, a couple weeks ago or something, but he didn't go into it what it was. But it's due to the rise in the cap numbers due to option bonuses is what he said, because there's only so much control you have over this. Like, you keep putting it off. In terms of these big cap numbers, but at some point they're going to hit. You have to be careful of how many of these you do, and that's the challenge and the balance of all this. But look, it's what happens when you have a great football team. You find everything under the sun, which is you're allowed to do, and the Eagles are the kings of the option bonuses. Nobody does more of them than this football team.
That is right. We're a couple of contracts that are jumped, so let's get right into it. Let's talk about running backs, and we'll go with Saquon Barkley, who enters the second year of his 3-year, $37.75 million deal. His number is going to jump a little bit. It's still, when you look at the total picture of the contract, and compare it to the production you received, this still might be the most team-friendly contract in NFL history, outside of, the Eagles went to the Super Bowl and the 49ers went to the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy and Jalen Hurts on rookie deals. Right. Those are always great when you can get a quarterback to play at that kind of level and go to the Super Bowl on a rookie deal. But if you put those aside, what they're getting from Saquon Barkley is just tremendous compared to, what he's giving them for the dollar.
Yeah, no doubt. So if you look at his first year, right? His salary was $1.375 million, which is typical the way you do veteran deals. The first year base salary is usually around the minimum. And then what happened was he got paid his signing bonus, $11.625 million. The cash without the incentives, which by the way, he hit the incentives because for that particular year, because he went to the Super Bowl and nailed the rushing. But the cash without the incentives was $13.25 million, which again, as Joe Banner told us months ago, was going to be a bargain. He said, look, it's comparable to signing like a good guard in free agency. Anyone would sign up for that, sure as hell would. Now, Saquon also has a 2-year void. 27 and 28 are for cap purposes. Those are void years. But this year, 2025, his cap number jumps from $3.95 million, because last year it was the signing bonus year, and that was prorated. So you had a low cap number. This year, the base salary goes from $1.375 million to $11 million, which is fully guaranteed. And there's a small signing bonus proration. The signing bonus was $11.625 million. So his cap number is $13.57 million. So that you're starting to see some of these cap numbers jump here in 2025.
Yeah. So like you said, I mean, it's about a $9.5 million just in base salary, correct? Because you said 1 point something last year and 11 this year.
Yeah. 1.375 last year, 11 million flat. Yep. This year.
Wow, that's pretty big. And then what do we see going into the year of 2026?
All right. So his final year is 12 million. 1.5 million of that is fully guaranteed. And
Mhm.
then now, not that it should be a decision to make, but he's got a small roster bonus of 1 million. Now, what it is, it'll be due on the fifth day of free agency that year. So what'll happen is, as long as he's still playing well, he'll be on the roster. He'll earn it, and the
Mhm.
cash that year is 13.25 million without the incentive. So it could be, I believe, it up to 16 million with the incentives.
Mhm.
And what's fascinating is, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens, because if he's kicking ass, it's heading into the 26th season. You wonder, do they extend it? Because he will turn 29. You have to be careful. He's a running back, but he did not miss a game due to injury this past season, which was really that's the other story of this past season with him. I mean, the fact, based on the injury history, which is pretty significant, the fact that he didn't miss a game due to injury was just mind-boggling. Wow, that's pretty hard. Pretty amazing. Great job by him and the medical staff.
Right. Now, if you're the Eagles, Adam, if he has another really good year, the only reason to really extend it would it be to try to lower the number going into 2026. But honestly, you have him on such a good deal. I feel like it would be Saquon in his camp saying, hey, we only have 1.5 guaranteed in the last year of our deal. And it's a team friendly deal anyway. And we've given you two, again, this is hypothetical, two
Yeah.
amazing Pro Bowl years, whatever, record setting first year. It's time for you to come play ball better with us, or else maybe my client won't be showing up. Who knows? I'm not gonna, Saquon's
That's
been
the
a
way it
great model.
happens, just like you say it. You said
Yeah,
it. That's really the way agents approach it. If a guy outplays his deal, I and by the way, I would not say it was a team-friendly deal per se heading into it. It turned out to be. You don't know that
right,
going in because of his injury history, and he
correct.
kicked ass. I mean, it was best year in NFL history, and you know he had 3 or 4 minor injuries. He had that right wrist injury where he missed some snaps. He had a couple lower body, like an ankle and a knee, where he missed some snaps and it came back in the game. So again, he just didn't miss any. He didn't miss any games due to injury, and then all the consternation about resting him for Week 18. Are people still pissed off about that? Do you think the Eagles made the right choice by not playing him? You think?
Oh man, I forgot about that. I was trying to
Yeah.
forget about that
Sorry,
consternation,
I had
but
to
I
bring it up
think
because
I
now you
think
know
it
why,
worked out.
folks. Oh God,
What's
yeah.
worse?
What is it?
What was worse, the consternation about that, or the idea that Kellen Moore was way too distracted by his
That
coaching
I know that
interview
pissed you off. Yeah.
to the point where his team scored what 55 and then 40 in the two games where he was having interviews in the week leading up. I think that they did all right there.
I'm sorry. They could have scored 60 had he been paying attention more.
Yeah. Listen, I've said from the start, I agree with people in that the optics are bad, but
Yeah.
we know how it works. Like there was no preparation time that was sacrificed because of, and obviously the results showed it. The Eagles were probably played their two best offensive games of the year in the NFC Championship and the Super Bowl. There was no preparation time that was sacrificed because of interviews. If anything, it was just personal time, which I think Kellen Moore even admitted he couldn't go to one of his kids' basketball games because he was doing an interview. But yes, the optics are bad, but I don't know how they can fix that or what they're going to do. As far as other running backs are concerned, the only ones under contract when the league year begins will be Will Shipley, who enters year 2 of his 4-year rookie deal as he was a 5th-round pick, correct? 4th-round pick? 4th-round
Fourth.
pick.
Yes.
4th, right. So that is the standard base salary there of just under $1 million and in 2025. And then Ty Davis Price, I believe, is signed to the reserve futures deal. So obviously, for the running back room here, you do wonder about Kenny Gainwell, who's going to be a free agent, what it would take to re-sign him if they plan to re-sign him.
Oh, they'll want him back. That won't be the
They'll want him
decision.
back. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
know they'll want him, but you just never know what someone's else going to.
Yeah.
We
I mean,
we did
that's
this dance with Boston Scott all like for 3 straight years, where we just didn't know if some team, and then he would go out there and not really get an offer, and he would come back to the Eagles.
yeah. And remember, he became the Eagles' highest paid running back a couple years ago, $2 million.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was bizarre to me after Miles Sanders went to the Panthers. So, yeah, Gainwell's the best pass protector. No question about it. And as we outlined when he was drafted, this is a player that the coaching staff is heavily involved in drafting or recommending. It was Howie Roseman's decision, but they did all they could to help Howie make that decision. They certainly try to show him how much they wanted to use him. And although I still would argue that the way they've used him is not really the way he was used in college. He's used more as a receiver than a dynamic runner, but hey, it is what it is. And he's been a good story development, certainly. And I agree that it'll be interesting to see how teams see him in free agency, other than being a really good pass protector and a grinding running back and a good true yardage back. How will the league see him? Well, we're going to find out soon enough.
Yeah, and we've talked about this. Jamal Singleton deserves a lot of credit because every Eagles running back who has come here under him has improved in areas where, especially in the toughness areas. Saquon got better this year in A, running stronger and not going down on first contact, and B, also in pass protection as well, which were not, his best attributes with the Giants. We saw that from DeAndre Swift 2 years ago, just running stronger than he had ran and staying healthy. He did a great job of that. Miles Sanders was a guy who in his first year under Doug Peterson's regime was the fast guy ripping off long runs, but not playing strong. And then by his last year, they go to the Super Bowl because he becomes a strong red zone runner and inside the tackles runner. And so when you start to see it become 1, 2, 3, 4 people, you have to give credit to the coaching in that regard. And I think Jamal Singleton, I know that Kellen Moore is talking to him for New Orleans. I mean, it's, I think that it'll still wind up being Nussmeier for offensive coordinator unless he takes a different turn. But I'm glad to see Jamal get a little recognition there, Adam.
Yeah, that's great. He's been a really good story. He's been an assistant. He actually coached Chad Hall at Air Force, who's now, I believe, the Giants' assistant quarterbacks coach, who is one of the best receiver coaches in the National Football League. But also, Kellen has been Christian Parker, as we talked about last week. We thought he might get an interview. It's going to be for defensive coordinator. We could also tell people, this one I don't think is out there, that Kellen wanted to talk to Jeremiah Washburn, who's the Eagles edge rusher coach, to be his offensive line coach.
Right.
That was the guy I believe he really wanted to hire, but heard around the league that Washburn declined to be interviewed. He wanted to stay for whatever reasons he had. So that's interesting. So, yeah, Kellen obviously looking at a lot of Eagles coaches here. We'll see who gets hired. The one I agree with is Nussmeier. We've talked about the one for 6 weeks. But the thing that I've learned about this business is, and I know that's Kellen's, guy like Patullo is for Nick Sirianni, you just never know how a guy interviews. What if Jamal has this great plan and he didn't, because they two worked with each other, so with the Eagles, so they know each other. But what if he just blows Kellen away in an interview and where he goes, wow, maybe I need to rethink this. You never know, though. You just never know. I've learned over the years with these interviews, man. It's like with Mike Tomlin, when I know this is a little bit more extreme. He was like the 9th guy on their list. He wasn't. They had no. It was going to be Russ Grimm. The interview didn't go well, and Mike Tomlin blew him away.
Funny. I was thinking of that as you said it.
Yeah. I just remember
that exactly.
I none of us reported it that Russ Grimm was a favorite, and to be honest with you, we were told he was going to win. I mean, they felt he was going to be the guy, right? But Tomlin blew him away, and here we are, almost a couple decades later, still the guy.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard stories that Russ Grimm was like preparing his first press conference, what he would say and everything like that. Like he really thought he was going to
be. Yep. That's incredible. True.
Yeah. All right. So that is the running back situation. And really we'll see what happens with Gainwell. I'll be curious. Running backs they're looked at in the league as a dime a dozen. So I don't know if he'll have a bunch of suitors or if he'll have any, but we know the Eagles like him and would like to have him back. So that's a big key there.
Hey, one thing I want to add, though, with Will Shipley, the Shipley's clearly more explosive. He doesn't block as well, is not as physical as Gainwell. That to me matters, because if they don't re-sign Gainwell, they have to add another back. Obviously, they don't have enough. They need to have more for camp. But that would be a concern. Pass protection, physicality behind Barkley, that matters.
Agreed.
And that's something they would not have if he's gone.
Yes, Shipley needs to get bigger and stronger. I think he even talked about that with Andrew DeCecco on the final rookie diary. But yeah, he definitely needs to get bigger and stronger. All right. We will get into the pass catchers in a second. A reminder, you got to get your free 30-minute stretch from Stretch Zone. And there's 3 ways to do it. You can go online, stretchzone.com. You can give them a call, or you can go in person at any of their 12 locations in Pennsylvania or New Jersey. Adam, what are some of the benefits of Stretch Zone?
Yeah, one of the things that, and you know this because you as a runner, uh, I, here are my top ways, right? Uh,
Mhm.
Getting relief from stiffness and soreness. The key to this is particularly when you're flying. You and I are flying to the combine next week. Trust me, I am going on Monday before I get my flight in the afternoon to Indy. I'm going in because I want to be as loose as I can and get that stiffness and soreness out of. There's no question. It feels so much better when you're loose. Uh, and you want to get your muscles relaxed as much as possible. And the other thing is, and this thing was, I didn't know this until I learned more about stretching. Getting the stress out of your body, man, I cannot tell you how much better I feel. When I walk out of the parking lot, whichever uh, location I go to, you just feel the stress out of your body, man. And then the big one for you and I is for you for running, and me for tennis, and my wife because she does her kayaking. Is the as soon as you get that, you do that activity, you feel the much greater range of motion. I could tell you because last Saturday I slightly pulled my left hamstring. I was like, before I decide I'm going to back off for a week, let me get it stretched out. I saw Austin at the Exton location, and when you know it, I told him what was going on, and he's I got it. He goes, we'll take it easy on you. And by the end of the 30 minutes, that thing was loose because it was a
Nice.
minor pull, and we just stretched it out. And that just like when I told you I stretched I pulled my adductor muscle, which is near your groin in that area. The
Mhm.
doctor said take at least 2 to 3 weeks off, and I wound up missing less than that. So stretching works, man. I'm going to year 4 with these people, and I love it, and I know you like it as well, and it really helps.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to getting back this week. And the location that I go to, of course, is in Cherry Hill on Evesham Road. Where are the other places they can go, Adam?
So in New Jersey, Mount Laurel and Centerton Square, Wegmans. It's across the street from NFL Films. Cosell now. We're gonna get Greg in there. Franklin Lakes and Franklin Avenue, Northfield and Tilton Road, Princeton, Nassau Park Pavilion. Now in Pennsylvania, on the main line, Haverford near Haverford, near the Suburban Square, Devon near the Whole Foods, Exton and Whiteland Town Center, South Philly near Graduate Hospital on 25th and Washington Ave, Montgomery County, where I grew up in Elkins Park. A lot of them off of 611. The Elkins Park one on Aldrich Road, Upper Dublin, Dresher, and the Promenade at Upper Dublin, off 611, and Feasterville in Lower Southampton Village. That's one of the ones in Montgomery County I've not been to. I am looking forward to going to that one very soon. StretchZone.com to sign up. It doesn't cost you. There's no obligation for that 30-minute free stretch.
Got to get it. No obligation. All right, wide receivers, Adam, for the Eagles as the numbers. I mean, this is where the star power. Let's call it pass catchers. We'll get to wide receivers and tight ends, of course, and this is where a lot of the money is tied up. And well, it should be. It's where a lot of the star power is, and it starts, as you mentioned, with AJ Brown, who signed that extension last year. Which it's funny. Remember, it came at a weird time because the Eagles had collapsed and imploded, and everybody thought AJ Brown was mad. And then he had to go on sports talk radio and it almost seemed like there was this fracture, right, between AJ Brown and the organization. And then it was like a couple of weeks later that they announced a really lucrative extension for him.
Yeah, he signed a 3-year deal last year worth $32 million a year. Now this one, the first deal that he did with the Eagles was sort of team friendly.
Mhm.
Not that this one isn't what the structure is the Eagles' typical structure, but the guaranteed signing is better. Just the way it was set up. Now, you want to talk about cash over cap. This is such a cash over cap deal. So the way, again, the Eagles, the kings of the option bonuses. So this is what I was alluding to earlier. So this season, his his cap number is only 17.591 million, but the total cash due is 29.75 million. So that's what it means. You're because of the option bonus proration, you get away with the structure. You're able to lower his cap number, but pay him a lot of cash in this season. So he's got a fully guaranteed option bonus of just under 29 million, which is prorated. So you're not paying him, you're paying him the money this year, unless you defer it, but you're stretching out the cap number over a series of years, and that's cash over cap. That is the epitome of cash over cap. Like, that's the way the Eagles do it. I don't know why the Eagles and the Saints should be listening to the show, because it's pathetic how bad over the cap they are each year. I don't know why they do it. I don't know why they don't do it this year this way. They restructure a lot of them. I just don't know why when they do extension they don't do these option bonuses. They're basically inside contract signing bonus. They're just once it's exercised that you prorate the over a number of years, and you lower the cap numbers and you keep these guys here. That's it. I just don't know why teams don't do this. A lot of them don't do it, by the way. A lot of them don't like doing it like that. But oh well.
Right. So his cap number is, say what his cap number is again?
17.591 million. The total cash.
That's pretty reasonable for an elite wide receiver. Yeah.
Yep. It's because of the structures, because of this option bonus. The fully guaranteed salary of 1.17 million, the veteran minimum for his years of service, and the option bonus. So that's it. There you go.
Yeah. And then even in 2026, it jumps, but it's still not, some of these, I don't know what Justin Jefferson's contract looks like, but I'm sure there are years where he's making north of $25 million, as a wide receiver, or a cap number, I should say. But they've managed to keep AJ's cap with these bonuses and spread out pretty low. Now, I guess the only thing is, does it catch up with you on the back end in 2027 or 28 with dead money?
It does. Oh yeah. It does. It does. It goes up each. 26 it jumps by 6 million in terms of his cap number. 27 it's almost the same number. Then it goes up a little bit more and a little bit more. And then if they roll over all these options, the cap number is enormous in 2030. But again, it goes down to if he's going to even play under that contract, 2029, because they have option bonuses in each year, and that keeps pushing up the cap numbers for the void years. Yeah, the void year cap numbers. It depends really if he's going to be on the roster then. But right now he has what he has. And Devontae Smith, to sum this one up, it's cash over cap. Let's see what Devontae has according to our records here. Yeah, once again, he's got a veteran minimum salary of 1.17 million. He's got a fully guaranteed option bonus of 11.421 million. So the cash number is way bigger than the cap number because of the option bonus, which is prorated. So yeah, his cap number is 7.524 million. The cash number is set 12.591 million. See, the only information I don't have here is whether this doesn't have anything to do with this cap number. I wonder if the Eagles, because they have all these option bonuses, do they have to be deferring cash? I'm sure they do. Typically what you do is you pay a certain amount by like a certain date, and then it could be like January of the next year, you pay the rest of it. It's just it's a lot of cash to pay at one time.
Right. Yeah, it is. It is. So those two guys are locked in pretty good, pretty high. I mean, their caps numbers are fairly manageable. Number 3 receiver is Jahan Dotson. He enters the final year of the 4-year of the rookie deal. Now, the Eagles did not pick up when they traded for him the 5th-year option, so they don't have to get locked into that big number in year 5. So it really essentially becomes 4 years, and he will enter the last year of that at, what is it, 2.6 million you have, right? Which is fully guaranteed.
Yeah, 2.757 million is fully guaranteed. Correct. Yes. And yeah, he came on a little bit. He'll obviously be on the football team. They need a third receiver. He definitely showed something. He definitely did. It's funny. All these people were asking us, I get that people must have been doing a fantasy prop or some kind of prop. Like 3 or 4 people asked us what we thought of the potential to score. That's just on Twitter. I'm like, or X. I'm like, why do you want to know this? It had to be for gambling purposes.
He came close too. He came so close, didn't he?
He did. I know. Down at the 1. Yeah, in the championship game, right?
Yeah. And then the Eagles are well stocked here with cheaper labor. Johnny Wilson, Anais Smith as 4th and 5th receivers. Both of them will enter the 2nd year of rookie deals. They'll make less than $1 million in salary. And then, of course, they've got Elijah Cooks. We mentioned him in the last podcast, and Danny Gray, the reserved futures signings. Free agents will be Britton Covey and Paris Campbell. So really very top heavy here with Brown and Smith, but manageable, right? Manageable. And then you've got some cheap labor here after the top two. And, you're hoping that guys like now Johnny Wilson had that drop in the Super Bowl. I wonder about the role for him because they sort of tried to use him. We predicted, we had his role hammered out, man. We said they're going to play 11 personnel that looks like 12 personnel because they're going to use him as a big, tall, tight end looking receiver, and he's going to block a lot, which he did. So whenever they were in 11 personnel with Johnny Wilson on the field, it really looked more like 12, but they got teams usually to respond in nickel anyway. So they got what they wanted. But one of those two guys, Wilson Smith, will be interesting to see if they can make kind of a year two jump and contribute into, if they can leapfrog Dotson to be that number 3 receiver, because we've talked about Aniyah Smith and him being a natural slot receiver anyway, where Jahan Dotson is not.
Well, Dotson can play inside or outside, but the bottom line
Right.
is he doesn't have great size, and the knock on him was too finesse. And Washington did not want him. That the new front office and coach staff, they were like, we don't want this guy. It's pretty clear. But you know what?
Yep.
As the season went along, him and Hurts started to develop chemistry better. When did they acquire him? Was it at the? Was it the end? Yeah, was it in late August?
2 weeks before the start of the season.
Yeah, that's right. Because that's right. Washington declined his option, not the Eagles. Washington did not pick up his 5th-year option. And
correct.
The concern was there is like, why are you trading him now? And the Eagles gave up what they wound up giving up a 3rd-round pick as part of the deal, which is a lot.
They gave up,
but
a third, and I think a 7th, and then got 2 5ths back or something, or a 5th. I forget what it was.
Right. It was an exchange of picks, but they gave up a 3rd. But then he came on, and look, if Smith and Brown can't play, at least you have a guy who's got talent, has got experience. Now, of course, we have to see we got to see what kind of offensive scheme they're going to run, and we'll see what kind of role he's got. But Dotson's for a 3rd receiver, $2.757 million is fair. I think it's very, very fair.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you think he's got better upside. I mean, he's yet to show it. I mean, he's made some splashy plays, but we'll see if maybe year 2, any more comfort that he can get more involved in the offense. We'll see. I mean, the good thing is it's sort of like the dart throw. Like if it's not Jahan Dotson, you got Johnny Wilson. If not Johnny Wilson, you got Aniyah Smith. One of those 3, you imagine the Eagles think are hoping will step up and have a better next year than they just had. Let's talk about the tight ends, because you mentioned at the top of the show, this Dallas Goedert thing becomes an albatross because, and again, I think you hit this on the head in the last podcast. It's not a cap casualty because you can't afford anything. With Dallas Goedert, it's simply, are you getting enough return on your investment? When he's healthy, he plays really well. But how many games did he miss last year? It was like 8, right? It was a 4-week span, then an injured reserve span, and then throughout the years, he's just had trouble staying on the field.
He's such a good player too, and they have no one to replace him. All right, so here's the deal. This is the final year of his last extension, which he signed in November of 2021. He's got total cashes. He's got, let's see here, $15.5 million. None of it's guaranteed. The base salary of $1.255 million. And then he's got a $14 million option bonus. So if I'm Goddard, there's just no way I'm coming back unless I get guaranteed money. He is now 30. Boy, seems like yesterday they drafted him to eventually replace Ertz, and now he's 30 years old, which he just turned on January 3rd. So they don't have his replacement. That's some leverage for him. So at least he knows going into this situation that they don't have his replacement, where Ertz kind of knew that was leverage for the Eagles. Like they knew that they had Goddard. So
yeah,
they don't have that guy here. So that's some leverage for Goddard and his agency. But this is a tough deal here. You're right, with his injury history.
Mm-hmm.
They're not the same team without him. This is going to be an
interesting
situation.
The Eagles, I think, went 7-1 in the 8 games that he didn't play. So their leverage is, all right, well, we don't have another you, but we've been able to compensate because we have a very good team around to be able to withstand that.
True, but A, it's not a full season, and B, you're a better team with him. You just
Of course.
because of all he does in the run and pass game. So life without Goddard is not great. I know. Look, I get it. They're able to win, no question about it. But they're clearly better with him. And we saw Calcaterra when he filled in. It's just not the same thing. It's just not. Because he don't block very
So
well.
what do you think? What do you think is the move here?
This one. This is a tough one. If I knew, and we'll look at the free agent list of tight ends down, somewhere in the next 2 weeks. We'll start looking at free agent lists, who's available. That's always a situation. Now, the early word on the draft is there should be around 6 tight ends that go inside the first 3 rounds. I kind of looked into that earlier this week, but that guy's got to block. If they decide to move on from Goddard and trade him, well, you better be able to get someone to go block. Like, that is super important at that position. And CJ Uzomah is a free agent, by the way. He's well into his 30s now. He clearly doesn't have much left. So they just don't have an answer at that tight end position right now to replace him.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles look to move him because of that non-guaranteed money, they can save a lot of money not having him. But
True.
again, you got to replace him. I understand that. Everybody's going to say, "Well, what are you going to do?" Well, I mean, that's the difficulty of it, and that's why really good teams have to make shrewd moves. And the Eagles have done this before with other players. So they moved on from Zach Ertz when they had Dallas Goedert. Now they had at least a year of Goddard or two to know that they were going to another really talented player. But this one seems like something's gonna have to happen here. Like he can't come back. Yeah.
Yeah. What were you gonna say?
I just feel like he can't come back as is. I don't think either side
Correct.
that is going to benefit from.
Yeah. It's a really tough situation. Usually these things are pretty, like, you could ask us about any other free agent. I feel kind of know where they're headed based on the early word on what the player might want or what the comps are. This one's a tough deal at 30 years old. It's just tough with the injury history which he's had, which has been kind of weird. This year he had the knee injury, and then he had the weird arm. Was it an arm fracture which he had against Washington a couple years ago?
Yeah.
On a He-Man run, so we'll see what happens. But it's tough because they just don't have his replacement.
Right. And speaking of, number 2 tight end Grant Calcaterra enters the final year of his rookie deal, so he makes a little bit over $1 million. He is a candidate for the extension that we always talk about after 3 years. However, I do not see the Eagles moving quickly here to try to work out some kind of long-term extension with Grant Calcaterra. I think they let him play out the contract and see how it goes.
Yeah, with his injury history also, that's another guy with the concussion history. That's the thing that you worry about with him. But no, he's been a good story development. Guy's an athlete.
Sure.
You saw when they had Jack Stoll and him fill in for Goddard over the years, like they did a good job together. But the bottom line is right now, tight end's kind of a quagmire. It's kind of a, we'll have to, it's kind of one of those, you got to see how it shapes up. It's kind of a mystery position. They don't really have a future at it for starting tight end.
100%. Absolutely. I mean, EJ Jenkins, he's under contract for another year, just under $1 million. He's a guy that they've been trying to develop. He has good body size. I think he's 260, 250.
He's a long dude. Yeah, he's put some size on. Former receiver. Yep.
I know Andrew DeCecco has written extensively about him. I think he's worked with offensive line coaches too on his blocking. So, maybe by the time you're going into the season next year, you feel like he's made real strides, but you're not going to look at him as your number 1 wide receiver and probably not even number 2. You're just going to continue to develop him, see what you get. But yeah, this will be an interesting offseason to see what they do at the position. The other 2 guys are Cam Latu and Nick Muse under the reserve futures contracts. And like you said, Uzomah becomes a free agent. So there's a lot of work to be done at this position. It would not shock me at all, Adam, if this was a position that the Eagles felt like they needed to address in the draft sometime day 2.
Oh, Oh yeah, even if Goddard comes back, no question in my mind at
Yep.
his age and his injury history. y- Yeah, and we'll look more into the draft once we get to the draft stuff in the third week of March when we turn the page, because free agency is so quick in the NFL. It's not like the NBA; it's over in a flash. In fact, almost all the deals are done on Monday and Tuesday. When the doors open officially Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, all the good top names are off the board. It's kind of like ho hum, but we'll see what the tight end position looks like very very soon.
How do we get my guy Tyler Warren onto the Eagles? Is that I don't think
Oh
it's possible.
yeah,
There's
I
just
don't.
no way.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I'll be interested to see how high he goes. I really do, because I know he's clearly heads and above the best tight end and one of the better skill position players for this draft. Is he top 10,
Yeah.
top 15? We'll see.
Yeah, that's always the tight end quagmire is always tricky. Do teams want to use a top 10 pick? I mean, I think the Raiders are not upset that they used one on Brock Bowers. He had an
He had a great
incredible
year.
year,
Sure,
but
sure.
he is also rare. I mean, he's rare, but so is Tyler Warren. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think
Yep.
tight end is a good spot to look for the Eagles this offseason. All right, those are our pass catchers. And running backs, wide receivers, tight ends. And that is the picture. A lot of numbers jumping. So that means, the Eagles have to make some shrewd moves somewhere. And we'll see how that goes. And so that'll complete our part one on the offense, our two parts, I should say. On the offense, we'll get into the defense in a two-part series on the next two pods. And it's been fun. So that's going to do it for this episode of Inside the Birds, the leading podcast in Eagles intel. And as always, we thank you for flying with us inside the birds. Be sure to check out our friends at phlsportsnation.com. They're enhancing the fans' experience with their coverage of all Philadelphia sports teams. For the fan, by the fan is their motto. So make sure you check them out at phlsportsnation.com and on Twitter at phlsportsnation.